All right, so now this is an interesting one because instead of using starlight and instead of bringing our own light, now we're actually going to use city light. We're going to actually use light pollution to light our scene. So this entire scene here with the foreground is lit by the Phoenix area. So this is the area of Phoenix lighting the foreground, and then because I'm shooting in a certain way, which we'll see in a second when we break it down, we're able to get the Milky Way behind it. And you can see here we can do a pano, capture the same thing. We can do another pano, and again, because it's just constantly lighting the scene, we don't have to worry about it. It could even light foreground elements, lighting a sign or whatever you want to do. So let's break down this region and show you what happened. All right, so here's the light pollution map for this region, and you can see we're up here by the Superstition Mountains. We're actually in this area right here. And you can see where, for most people, they'd look at that and say, why or how are you shooting the Milky Way in such a light polluted area? Well, the reason is because I'm using this light pollution here to cast light on all these mountains and all this scene over here. Well, there's no, if you see back here, there's no light pollution behind. There's little light pollution. And again, we're shooting this way, right, from our shooting position. So we're shooting this way, little light pollution on the one side, and the Phoenix Mesa area is casting this light pollution all up towards the mountains. Now, the other advantage that we have in this setting is, so Phoenix is a little lower than as we start getting up to the Superstition Mountains. So the light is actually coming up towards the Superstition Mountains as well. Versus, if we look at the same scenario, we just saw that site, or we just saw that picture over in the Kofa Mountains. That was over in this region, right? And we're shooting, again, this way. Well, the difference is, if you look at that picture, along the horizon of that picture, you're getting this light pollution coming back into the camera. But again, because we're so far away from it, if you look at this distance from here to here versus this distance, there's a lot of difference between how far we were away from the light pollution on one side and how close we were to the light pollution on the other side. And that's where you can really see over here, we're so far away from the light pollution, and here we're actually in the thick of the light pollution. And that's where you can see, if we go back to that picture, barely on the horizon, you can start seeing Phoenix getting into that light pollution in that area. You can start seeing it. And actually, it becomes a cool effect because it kind of adds a little bit of a silhouette to those mountains. But again, coming back to this, so we've got this picture. So we decided, hey, we're going to shoot in a Bortle 5, and a region usually you wouldn't shoot the Milky Way, but the reason being is we were shooting, again, this direction. This location, the Milky Way is coming up over here, and then it's moving this way. So this is the Milky Way. And it's moving this way, right? So that's why this position in particular, if you're going to shoot in this position, we've got north, east, west, south. The Milky Way goes from east to west throughout the year, right? So as earlier in the year, in the spring, in the northern hemisphere, in the spring, it moves from the east, and then in the fall, it'd be rising or setting in the west, and it moves throughout the year, right? So this position, or this location that we're shooting in, would be good for the first half of the year. As it gets into later in the year, you're gonna be shooting towards the light pollution. So, breaking down again that area, so if we're up in here and we're shooting this way, like I was saying, I just wanted to reiterate, you can see where there's light pollution is going to start getting into our scene from here over, right? Because you got all this city. So this is all city, and this is wild, right? So we want to be able to shoot this way. So again, if it's coming from this direction and moving this direction, we want to do this shoot in the spring or in the early summer. And that's when we were there. We were actually there in late February. So then breaking down the actual location and where we're up in this region right here with the camera. We're shooting this rock formation here, the praying hands in the Superstition Mountains. So we're shooting this direction. That light pollution, so our light source is Phoenix, and Phoenix is casting all that light this way onto the mountains. We take the shot, we do those same settings we talked about. If you look at it, we're at 6400, 15 millimeters, f2.8, and I went down to 10 seconds. The reason I went to 10 seconds is because we were dealing with so much light pollution. So we wanted to actually take some of that bite out of it. I didn't really want to have the Milky Way be screaming in the shot and then or the Milky Way be more prominent in the shot, but then have the foreground be overlit. We're wanting to, again, balance these things. And you can see where it balances very well. If you look at it, you got the light, again, on the cacti, you got the light on the mountain, you've got the Milky Way core, and you've got arching over the top, and you can see no matter what we're shooting, a pano, we're shooting a tighter pano, we're shooting a wide shot, we're shooting another wide shot. They're all, in this one, for some reason, it's the auto setting got hit on this one. It should look more like that. So again, that's where you break it down. I mean, that's all it takes to do a shot like that, is we're just basically, we're studying those things like the light pollution map. Over here, I know this looks crazy now, but studying the light pollution map, we're studying the regions and looking at, well, here's our source of light pollution. If it's coming this way, what can we shoot on this side of Phoenix early in the year that would get that light pollution? You could do the same thing in Phoenix if you looked at later on in the year, looking at this in the fall. Could you look at this side of Phoenix and shoot this way? But you gotta always be shooting away from the light pollution. So we wanna be shooting away this way, or we wanna be shooting away this way. We don't wanna have a composition to where we're shooting into the light pollution, because that's really where you're gonna see like these light domes, things are gonna get really messy. It's gonna get kind of, it's gonna kill the Milky Way. You're not gonna be able to see it. But if you're shooting away from that, it is gonna be totally fine.